again to the benefice of East Clevedon. Today our reflection for the 9th Sunday of Trinity and the 9th of August 2020. The readings for today, firstly from 1 Kings, where we hear the account of Elijah in his cave, and the Gospel for today is the walking on the water and Peter stepping out of the boat. But I'll read the 1 Kings lesson, which I'll concentrate on in my reflection. 1 Kings chapter 19. At that place, Elijah came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I've been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, killed your prophets with a sword. I alone am left, and they're seeking my life to take it away." God said, "Get out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I've been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they're seeking my life to take it away." And the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king over Aram. You shall anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. And you shall anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, as prophet in your place. Whoever escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu shall kill. And whoever escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha shall kill. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." For the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. To be overwhelmed with fear is a dreadful thing. Fear isn't the sort of low-level anxiety that might mark many days of our lives, but a raw, harrowing feeling that one is no longer in control and that one is in great danger. This may be physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual, but whatever the cause, the feeling of fear will demand, and I do mean demand, our immediate attention. How the poor people of Beirut must have experienced this. Fight, flight, freeze, and frolic are our usual responses to real fear. We react instinctively to the dangerous situation, and we tend to resort to one of these responses: to fight our way out by aggression, to run away, to stay frozen to the spot, or to try to charm ourselves out of making friends with our enemy. In our readings today, we have two responses to fear: Elijah in full flight in his cave, and Peter frozen to the spot in fear of drowning, both overwhelmed, both men of faith and courage, both in the grip of red raw fear. Elijah's a fascinating story. Remember, this is Bronze Age Middle Eastern history, so he didn't have the European Convention of Human Rights to hand. He's just come from an amazing victory, overwhelming the prophets of Baal with the reality of his Lord. The sacrifice of the burnt offering had refused to burn for the god of Baal. Is he distracted or gone for a walk? Is Elijah's taunt to them? But for Elijah, the mighty man of God, even though he douses the offering with water, his effective prayer immediately causes the offering to go up in an impressive ball of flame. Game, set, and match to Elijah, who then celebrates by killing them all. As I say, no human rights legislation consulted. One would have thought that this would be enough to settle his mind about the power of God at his side, but no. The wicked Jezebel hears of the crushing defeat and vows to kill Elijah. So afraid is he that he hides in fear, he flees. Isn't it interesting that someone so successful can be so afraid? Success can often bring loneliness and fear. Where do I go from here? What if it all goes wrong? There's no one now to blame but me if I can't sustain this. And even winning can be exhausting, and one can feel alone and strangely vulnerable. In the darkness of his fear, he hears God, not loudly or spectacularly, but quietly and in silence. Importantly, Elijah has to step out just a little from the protection of his cave. In a beautifully tender passage, God asks him by name, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And he replies that he's zealous, afraid, and alone. God explains that in spite of what he feels, he isn't alone. There are 7,000 people out there who will help him carry his burden of responsibility of keeping his faith and the nation together. Importantly too, for Elijah and anyone suffering from frozen fear, he's given simple, practical things to do. Get out of the cave, go to Damascus, see Hazael, then Jehu, then Elisha. Have faith in the big picture, but concentrate on small, practical steps one by one. Elijah's encouraged to stop looking through the tunnel of fear, to look around him and see the reality of the actual situation, that there's much, much more help out there than he'd recognised, and then take small, practical steps into the future, knowing that God is with him, so that all shall be well, as indeed it was. Well, this is hard going. Fear stops us thinking rationally. And as in any emergency, we have to trust someone. And these readings encourage us to do two things: to trust God and to trust ourselves. We act as individuals, of course, but supported by our faith and by each other. The isolation of fear, therefore, is our response to danger, but it's the beginning of our response and need not be the conclusion of it. Taking trust and faith in both hands, we can then take small practical steps away from fear and back into some sort of calm control. In an interview with the world-renowned psychiatrist and psychoanalyst Carl Jung, he was asked whether he believed in God. He paused a long time, at least 6 seconds. "That's a difficult question to answer," he said. "I do not believe, I know." That's always struck me as convincing from the mouth and mind of someone who spent a lifetime supporting patients racked with anxiety and fear. I suspect that after their very different experiences, Elijah and Peter might have said the same. So I wonder whether you and I might find the courage to trust God, to trust ourselves and those around us when the alarm in our head goes off next time we find ourselves afraid. "What are you doing here, Elijah, hiding away? Why did you doubt, Peter?" are words not just for them but for us too. And of course there was another cave, the tomb in the garden, that the resurrection was encountered and understood. Fear replaced by faith. Can I finish with a prayer that was written anonymously, but it's a beautiful prayer asking for calm and for peace, and I'll read it. It's actually a nighttime prayer, but it's suitable for the morning and the daytime too. It's a prayer asking for peace with ourselves and with everybody else. Let me read it to you. "Give me this day, O Father, the peace of mind which is truly rest. from me all envy of anyone else, all resentment for anything which has been withheld from me, all bitterness against anyone who has hurt or wronged me, all anger against the apparent injustices of life, all foolish worry about the future, and all futile regret about the past. Help me to be at peace with myself, at peace with my fellow human beings, at peace with you. So indeed may I lay myself down to rest in peace. Through Jesus Christ our Lord.